reef runs on rules. Every animal out here knows them. Stay small or stay fast. Hide in the coral or outrun the open water. Thousands of species, all playing the same game, all of them right. And tonight I'm dropping in the one thing the rules were never written for. You're a Megalodon, the largest shark that ever lived. The water in front of you is warm enough to keep you alive, and nowhere near big enough to keep you fed. Nobody on this reef has ever met something your size. Nobody alive ever will. We've never even found a whole one of you. Everything anyone thinks they know about you was rebuilt from teeth and a handful of backbones. Right, let's run it. If you want to see more extinct things dropped where they don't belong, into oceans that moved on without them, you know the drill. The reef's about to find out what it forgot. You're new. Not small, nothing about you is small, but new. You came into the world already around 2 meters long, the way your kind always did, born live into shallow water and left to work the rest out alone. No mother waiting, no lesson. Just warm water and a hunger that arrived before you did. The first thing you notice is the heat. The water sits warm against you, the way it should, the way the deep cold ocean never quite managed. This suits you. Your body runs hot, hotter than the sea around you. And that costs fuel, constantly, whether you eat or not. So the warmth here is a gift. The warmth means you don't have to fight the cold just to stay yourself. The second thing you notice is the floor. It's close, too close. You're built for open water, for long blue nothing in every direction. And instead there's a wall of coral on one side, and a shelf of sand on the other, and a ceiling of light not far above your back. You turn, and your turn is wide, and the reef does not give you room to make it. The light sits too near your spine. The sand keeps rising to meet your belly. Every time you straighten out, a bommy or a sandbank is already there, and you bend around it slower than you'd like. You are a deep water animal wearing a shallow water room, 2 sizes too small, and there is no part of this place that lets you forget it. Below you, the reef is busy. Fish in their thousands, bright and quick, sliding into cracks you'll never reach. A turtle, slow and armored, grazing where the water goes shallow. None of them know what you are. This reef has never known anything your size, and you predate the reef itself by millions of years. It forgot you long before there was anyone here to remember. You drift over the shelf, vast and patient, throwing a shadow nothing on this reef has thrown before. The small fish scatter on instinct, then settle, because the shadow doesn't chase. You're not interested in mouthfuls. You need weight. You need the kind of meal that justifies the engine you're running, and so you do the only thing your whole body is built to do. You go looking for something big enough to matter. Field note: this is where the record stops being generous. The animal is real. Otodus megalodon, the megatooth shark, gone for roughly 3.5 million years. But how big it actually got is still argued over. The old method scaled it from a great white and landed around 15 to 18 meters. A newer look at the few preserved backbones suggests a more slender body, possibly stretching toward 24. There's no complete skeleton to settle it. We have the teeth, serrated, some past 18 centimeters, and we have the bite marks they left in fossil whale bone. The rest, we estimate. The bones we have only take us so far. You learn the reef the way a thing your size has to, by failing at it. The fast prey is a waste of your time. You watch a school of fish fold around a coral head and vanish into it, and there is nothing you can do about that. You can't follow into the cracks. You can't corner anything in a maze built for animals 1/100th your length. The reef is full of food you will never once touch. And that's the first hard lesson the warm water doesn't mention. So you change targets. You go for weight. The first real kill is a turtle. It's grazing in the shallows, slow, certain of its armor, and that certainty has kept it alive against everything else out here. Against you it means nothing. You'll take anything with enough mass on it. That's what your kind always were, opportunists, not fussy. You come up from below and behind, the way your kind always did, and you don't bite to wound, you bite to end it. The jaws close, and the armor that beat every other predator on this reef simply stops being relevant. One pass, the water goes cloudy, You move on before it clears. A turtle is a snack. You knew that going in. The second hunt is a pod of dolphins, and it goes worse for you, not them. They're fast, they're clever, and they talk. Clicking through the water, mapping you long before you're close. By the time you commit, they're already gone, scattered into shallow ground you can't follow, and you're left turning your wide, slow turn in water that's suddenly empty. You are the most powerful thing in this ocean. You are also, right now, hungry, and being the most powerful thing in the ocean does not feed you. The dolphins worked that out faster than you did. And here's the part the reef keeps quiet. You can't stop. Your body runs warm, hotter than the water, and it burns through fuel whether you catch anything or not. Resting costs you, drifting costs you, sleeping, if you did it, would cost you too. So you don't. You keep moving, always moving, an engine that has to be fed just to keep idling. The warm shallows that keep you alive are the same shallows where the food is too quick to catch. The thing that saves you and the thing that starves you are the same warm water. You take a large fish here, a slow-moving thing there, and none of it is enough, and you keep swimming anyway, because the alternative is to stop. And stopping is just a slower way to lose. And then there's the other thing in the water. It comes from above, a long, hard shape, moving in a straight line nothing alive moves in, trailing sound that has no animal in it. A hull. It passes over you, throwing its own shadow across yours, and for a moment the biggest predator the planet ever built holds very still beneath a tour boat and waits for it to leave. It does. You surface behind it, into the wake, into diesel and noise, and you learn the newest rule on this reef. The loud things on top are not prey, and they are not afraid of you, and there are a great many of them, which, out here, barely rates as a threat yet. Field note. The bite is the part people want a number for, and the honest answer is that nobody has one. No living megalodon ever clamped down on a sensor. What we have is reconstruction. Models that put the force somewhere in the range of 100,000 to 180,000 newtons, which would make it one of the hardest bites ever modeled. Treat that as a careful estimate, not a measurement. What's better established is the heat. A 2023 study found the animal ran warm, around 27 degrees, roughly 7 above the water it swam in. That warmth built the giant. It also sent the bill. Then, one season, the water changes, and the reef finally offers you the meal you were built for. The whales arrive. Humpbacks, moving up the coast the way they do every winter, big and slow and full, hugging the warm water to calve. For a few months a year, this reef becomes exactly the ocean you remember. Real weight, real fuel. Enough, finally, to justify what you are. You take one. It's everything the old hunting was. The rise from below, the strike that doesn't need a second try. The water going dark and the whole vast machine of your body finally paid in full. For a few weeks, you are not out of place. You are the apex this reef forgot it could have. You feed and you grow. And the reef gives you, briefly, no argument at all. And then the whales leave. They always leave. The migration is seasonal. It was never a standing meal. Just a window. And the window closes behind them and takes the warm water buffet with it. The reef goes back to being what it actually is. A shallow coral maze full of food you can't catch, dotted with the occasional turtle, threaded through with boats. And you still run hot. You still burn fuel whether you eat or not. The hunger doesn't migrate. The hunger stays. So you start ranging wider, and that's where the modern world stops being background. There are nets out here, long, set, invisible, until you're in them. There are vessels everywhere, and the protected lines on a map you can't see. You move into shipping water looking for the next big thing, and the next big thing is a hull, and the one after that is a hull, and none of them are whales. You are the most fearsome predator the ocean ever produced, and you are losing a slow argument with an ocean that's smaller than you, colder than you need, and busier than anything you were built for. You hold in the warm shallows where the heat is free and the food is too quick. You range out to the open water where the food has weight and the cold starts pulling heat out of you, faster than you can make it. There is no part of this reef that is both warm enough and full enough at the same time. That was always the trap. The thing that keeps you alive and the thing that keeps you fed are in two different places, and you cannot be in both. That should have starved you in a season. It didn't. You're too good at this, and there's just enough out here, barely, to keep the engine turning. Australia's just making you work for it. Here's the part the reef can't tell you, because it happened long before there was a reef like this. You didn't lose to a bigger predator. You lost to arithmetic. The oceans cooled. The warm water broke into smaller and smaller pieces. The shallow nurseries drained as the seas dropped, and the big prey thinned out or moved where you couldn't follow. The warm blood that built the largest shark that ever lived became a debt the ocean stopped paying. Something newer and smaller, the great white, took the scraps and didn't need as much to live. Drop you into the modern reef and nothing about that math changes. Warm enough to keep you alive. Far too small to keep you fed. You were never killed. You were just outlasted by an ocean that learned to run lean. The reef will go on running its rules without you, the way it has for 3.5 million years. It barely noticed you were gone. That's the sim. I'll see you in the next one. Drop the next creature in the comments. The one with the most replies gets dropped into Australia next week. Tell me what you want to watch the country forget. I read every one of them. Pick something that deserves it.